Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Hey, thank you very much for joining us here today for episode number 886 and our Tuesday edition episode. So, if you are listening to this on Tuesday and you've been looking for it today and you're wondering, where was it? It's coming out late today. And hey, my apologies for that. It's coming out late. It's getting released at about 2 o'clock Mountain Time. Where I am at. And normally it comes out at about midnight on Tuesday. But it is late today, and the reason being is that we were away for Labor Day weekend, and we hope you all had a great Labor Day weekend as well. But these Tuesday episodes, my pledge is to do these fresh every week, to not pre-record them, to not kind of prep them ahead of time, which means that I'm going to be doing them in the moment. And I was living in a tent over the weekend, and therefore, I was not privy to a studio or to a microphone to record a podcast. So it is coming out a little bit late today. I hope that is all right with you. Well, I've got lots to say about Labor Day. Very interesting. And again, I hope you all enjoyed it. You know, it's funny in our community, and when I say our community, I mean agriculture. I don't know how much Labor Day means. There are going to be jobs in our sector where people get a 3-day weekend and they're going to go celebrate Labor Day. But for people who are involved in production agriculture, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, you know, these holidays are very arbitrary. They really don't mean anything because it's getting to be crunch time, right? I mean, harvest is going on in a lot of different ways, and harvest is coming up in a lot of different ways. And of course, if you're a crop advisor, you're probably out there beating the bushes right now as well. And so, you know, in our sector, these holidays don't necessarily mean a lot. They don't mean a lot to me, and I don't mean from a standpoint of, you know, like remembering people or celebrating the holiday itself, but I mean from the standpoint of not working. They don't mean much to me. I'm fine working on a federal holiday. It means nothing to me in terms of what needs to get done. However, once Autumn and Hattie go back to school, I get trapped into this regular schedule, meaning the time that I have available with my family to go do stuff is going to be weekends and holidays because, of course, they are involved in something conventional, a conventional work schedule that does actually stop for these federal holidays, for these national holidays. So with that said, we had some friends that were going to be in the McCall, Idaho area this weekend. We have a friend who is working up there, and as a result of what she is doing, she's able to provide us some campground space, and I'll tell you why that's important here in a minute. And Autumn and Hattie had a 3-day weekend, so it all kind of fell together, and it was up to me to get my stuff done ahead of time, to work extra long once we get back, so we could take, I guess, a last little family trip of the summer. And it has been an odd summer, no big vacations for us due to coronavirus. So this was fun. We really love going up there. McCall is about, depending on the route you take, 2.5 to 3 hours north of us on Payette Lake. It's a very beautiful lake, very beautiful valley, and a fun town to go to. Very touristy, no question about that. And there's a state park there, Ponderosa State Park, which is really a beautiful state park, and we love to go and pitch a tent and spend a couple days. And so we did just that. We had Caleb Pierce back over to our place to watch the farm and take care of everything. And, you know, I was proud of myself. I got everything prepped, everything right, and so all our goats, all our cattle, everything were out on fresh pasture the day we left. They had plenty of feed for the entire time we were gone without having to rotate pasture. And so for Caleb, it really, really simplified things in what we're doing. The pigs all have full feeders, full water. So we're in very good shape there. So it was very interesting. But going to McCall, and I'll tell you, we've been going to McCall since before we ever met. Autumn was going up there, and so was I when I worked in Boise selling ag chemicals for Zeneca Ag Products way back in 1994. During that year, I discovered McCall for myself and spent time up there. Really, really beautiful. And so we've been going up there individually for a long time and together since we were first married. So for 22 years now. And we've been going up there and have really enjoyed it. And right in about 2008, we were up there. We didn't have a farm at that point. The housing market had completely crashed. This may have been 2009. And the ramifications for vacation towns like McCall were severe. Things were really, really going very, very cheap up there then. And we almost bought a little house in McCall in 2008, but maybe 2009, for like $55,000. And we would have had to have borrowed money to do it. We didn't have the cash just sitting there. And we didn't pull the trigger. The practical side of us kicked in, and really we were looking at it more as a vacation home than we were as an investment. And so that practical side kicked in, and we did not do it. Well, we got up there this weekend, and boy, is that place transitioning. And it's losing its quaintness that it had 20 years ago, 30 years ago. There's no question about that. That's happening all over the West. Those of you who are listening, who are out in Texas, you're in the Midwest, you're in Illinois, wherever you might be, we are undergoing, California is losing population. I think for the first time in, I don't know how many years, California went down in population last year rather than going up. And all those people are fleeing what's going on in that state. And it just seems to get worse every other day. If coronavirus wasn't enough, if the homeless problems weren't enough, if the looting and rioting were not enough, then along comes this unprecedented wildfire season they're having right now, with smoke just filling everything. And people are just bailing out of there. And with the politics that's chasing all of this as well, people are just bailing out of there. And for places like we live in the West, and by the way, I'm not holding anything against Californians who are doing that. I did it myself. When I was 19, I bailed out of California. I could see the writing on the wall, and I moved on. And then I went back for a short time and then realized I had made the correct decision initially. And so I left. And nothing against all of you who are farming down there, by the way. Whenever I go down, it feels like home. And I look around and I remember my dreams of where I wanted to have a farm and everything down there. And that still tugs at my heartstrings. But if you do a good old-fashioned Benjamin Franklin pros and cons list, you know, the cons just outweigh the pros down there anymore. It's unfortunate. It really is. And I know it's going to shift back at some point. I just don't know how many people are going to leave before it actually shifts back to something reasonable. But anyway, that's not what this show's about. I bring that up because if you live anywhere in the West, other than California, you're in Arizona, you are in Nevada, you're in Utah, you're in Idaho, Montana, Wyoming even, Oregon, Washington State, you are feeling the impacts of what is going on in California, because they have so many people there that even if it's just a slightly increased percentage of people who are leaving that state, we feel it here in the West. And now we're feeling it particularly strongly here in Idaho because we're reasonably priced. We're probably one of the last places in the West to get discovered at this point. I mean, Bozeman, Montana, that's been discovered for a long time. Obviously, I went to college there. I love that town. But oh my goodness, has it been discovered. My cousins were just here from Boulder, Colorado. Discovered. Salt Lake City, that area, discovered. The Phoenix metro area, discovered. And people just flocking to these places, Las Vegas. And I'm naming cities. And again, that's because that's where most of the emigration from California is going. But now Boise, Idaho. It's happening here. But if you look at home prices around the West and what this outflow of people from California is doing to home prices, even though our home prices are skyrocketing here in the Treasure Valley of Idaho, they're still going to look very reasonable to somebody sitting down in California trying to figure out where they're going to go. And it is now happening here. And of course, this carries over into McCall, where we were this weekend. And you know, it's very interesting. So we've got so many more people here now that have moved in, and they're very traditional people living in subdivisions, working 40 hours a week, and then looking for some form of entertainment on the weekends. That's what I love about having a farm, is I'm never looking for a form of entertainment. There is always something to do, and if you love this lifestyle, then it doesn't feel like work, and so you're never bored. But if you live in a subdivision, you're 40 hours a week, And now you've got 3 days off. Well, you're looking to get out. You're looking to do something. You're looking to be entertained. And I understand that. I've lived that life before. And I understand that. Well, what's gone on now is where we used to be able to just run up to McCall on a whim for the weekend. Now it's next to impossible. You need to have reservations. The campgrounds that don't take reservations, they're full if you don't get there Thursday before a 3-day weekend or early in the morning on Friday. And then even the areas where you can camp in undesignated campgrounds, just the national forest, those spots get filled up, and there are just people left and right. And we love to go and stay in Ponderosa State Park there in McCall, but that does require reservations. Now, we used to be able to run up there and just grab a spot, but for Labor Day weekend 2020, impossible. So there's just no getting a spot, but we were fortunate enough to have a friend that is working up there and can have guests, and so we were able to camp at her spot, and that worked out really, really well. But oh my goodness, we have never, ever seen it like we saw it this weekend with people left and right. Now, granted, we generally don't go to tourist spots on holiday weekends because, of course, they're going to be packed. But this weekend, just a few things conspired, and so that's why we went. And oh my goodness, it was overwhelming how many people there were everywhere, just left and right, and boats on the lake. It was just unreal. There was never, unless you're up at 5 in the morning, the lake was never still. Choppy all the time from water skiers and wakeboarders and pontoon boats going by, whatever you could think of, just constant. Now, it was still nice, still beautiful, wonderful to get up there. But it really made me think of what's going on in our state. And I know a lot of you in other states in the West, you're going, yeah, we're already there, and I understand. But on the way up, we stopped and looked at a farm that a couple years ago, we had just such horrible wildfires in the West. And what's interesting is we're having horrible wildfires in California right now, no question about it, even eastern Washington, northern Idaho, those areas. But for us, it just depends on wind and weather patterns. And so this summer, we've had some smoky days, but nothing compared to a few years ago where we were socked in with smoke. It seemed like all of July, all of August, literally. I don't think I'm exaggerating at all. 60, 65 plus days of just smoke. And I just reached my breaking point, and so that year in August, in the middle of the week, I just wanted to get out. So Hattie and I, we drove up to this little community that's on the way up to McCall, and we met with a real estate agent. We looked at a couple ranches, looked at a couple farms, and thought about getting out of down here. Now, by the way, there's so many people coming in here now. I would leave at any time. I really would. Now, I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that we're here in the Treasure Valley for at least another 4 years because Hattie just started high school last week. So we're going to be here for at least 4 years. I'm not going to move her out of high school. She's already in there. She's joining the FFA chapter, trying out for softball, doing all those types of things. So we're not going to move. I'm here for at least another 4 years. Doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about it, but we are here for at least another 4 years. But anyway, we had looked at one farm in particular that we quite liked up in this area. So Autumn was not with us that day. So on our way up to McCall, we went and we looked at that farm again. It's been purchased by now. Somebody else is living there. But still, all the things we loved about it are still the same. And man, it was great. We're on an old country road driving out to this farm. It is exactly what I would be looking for. And there are wild apples and wild pears growing on the sides of the roads everywhere. So we pulled off, picked apples, ate apples all the rest of the way up to McCall. It was a lot of fun. It was a great family day. It cost, other than gas, $0 just to do that. Pick some apples, explore, look, and go up. Really, really enjoyed that. I thought it was wonderful. So maybe one day, maybe in 4 years from now, we will see. We'll see what happens in terms of living in the Treasure Valley. Of course, I've got Autumn's career to contend with as well, and she is very happy with her job here. So we will see where that all goes. But, oh my goodness, is it coming in here. The other thing is, just yesterday, so on Labor Day itself, since we don't have far to go, we just got a few hours to get home, we kind of messed around. Our friends took off early in the morning. They had to get back down to Nevada. But we just kind of hung around, and we rode bikes in from the campsite back into town, and messed around a little bit. And while we're in town, the airport's just south of downtown McCall. While we're in town, I heard a very familiar sound. Now, this sound is the sound of private jets taking off and leaving McCall. Now, I know this is not the first time this has happened, but this is the first time I've really noticed it being up in McCall. Now, we also have a place in Idaho, a very well-known and popular place with very wealthy people called Sun Valley, Idaho, with the big ski resort, very beautiful town of Ketchum right there, the beautiful town of Sun Valley. And it's gorgeous there. We love it up there. We love it up there. But as you come through Haley, so if you drive into Ketchum on Highway 75 from the south, you come past the municipal airport in Haley, Idaho, which is the next town south. Haley's also a very nice town. And you see on a popular weekend or around Christmas or anything like that, you see the airport is just lined with private jets that people have flown in from Los Angeles, from the Northeast, from Texas, from wherever to spend the weekend or the holidays up in beautiful Ketchum, Idaho, and Sun Valley, Idaho. And you see it like that. But we've known for years that Sun Valley and Ketchum has been discovered. There are multi-million-dollar homes up there. Very, very famous people, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, people like that have had homes up there for years. We've known that, right? And so McCall's always been kind of the beautiful spot in Idaho that we could get to in a reasonable amount of time from the Boise, Idaho area. That was kind of more the vacation spot, the play spot for, the working men and women like us. Well, we were sitting in downtown McCall yesterday, just kind of enjoying the day before we hit the road for the drive home. And one after another, private jet, taking off out over the lake and either banking to the east or banking to the west and taking their people back to, who knows, Los Angeles, Dallas. I don't know. I don't know where they're coming from. It could be New York City. I don't know. And I was like, okay, there is a change in the wind here in McCall. At a certain point, places like Sun Valley and Ketchum are expensive enough that people with the money that have these private jets that can fly off to a town for the weekend and fly back home, they start investing there. And there's definitely a change in the wind. And so, I don't hold it against anybody. You're going to do what you're going to do. And it's up to each of us to kind of carve out our own destiny. But you can see the writing on the wall in McCall. And that is a little bit depressing. But with that said, I'm not going to sit here and cry about it. I will adjust to the times and I'll do what I have to do. I'll find my own spot or find a way to fit in that spot if we want a mountain cabin someday or something like that. But it was very interesting to be up there and to see the changes that were going on, to see how many people, to see the jets flying out, to see some of the things that are being developed and built, and to see the demand for property and homes there and what prices have done. I told you about that little house we almost bought for $55,000. Well, that house is probably worth $350,000 today. And we were looking at buying it at the most years ago, 2008, so 12 years ago, but maybe 11 years ago, maybe 2009, whenever that was, we were looking at buying it. We didn't pull the trigger, and I wasn't looking at it as an investment. I would have never imagined what's gone on up there. But man, right now, I bet you it's worth, okay, I'll be conservative. I'll say it's worth $275,000. And I think that's probably conservative. And we're talking in 12 years time span, at the most, 12 years, that $55,000 investment would have gone up fivefold. Actually, exactly fivefold if it was $275,000. It's amazing. It's amazing what's gone on and what the demand is doing right now. And of course, in 2007, before the housing bubble, we saw stuff like this going on as well. It's really amazing what's going on. So those of you who are listening to my voice and you're living in beautiful South Dakota, Nebraska, a rural part of Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and please forgive me if I don't mention your state, Wisconsin, Minnesota. Man, you are, in my opinion, you are unbelievably lucky, or maybe you're just really, really smart because you are living in such a pretty, beautiful farming area that is not subject to these forces yet. But I will tell you, I don't know when, but it is coming one of these days, because as more and more of these people escape California and other states, we're getting people from the Northeast here as well. New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, things like that. As more and more people escape these really high-priced areas and they come out here for these lifestyles, then people from here are going to get pushed elsewhere. I was just talking with a farmer the other day saying that when he finally gets pushed out of Idaho, he's got his eyes set on Alabama. So I thought that was very interesting. I heard a national radio spot the other day with a guy that got on the national radio spot, said he was from Los Angeles, and he was flying to Boise to meet with a real estate agent, and he was buying a house here. So it's all going to have this ripple effect, this trickle-down effect. But for those of you who, and I'm sorry, I know I'm telling your secret here on the podcast, but I know the people listening to us, they're going to keep your secret for you. But those of you that are in these areas, these gorgeous rural areas, all up through the heartland, all up through the upper Midwest, even into the Northeast, man, good on you. You guys, you picked your lifestyle and your values over maybe a different job you could have taken. You didn't choose career first. You chose where and how you wanted to live first. And good for you. That is a great decision. Autumn and I have always done the same, and we've just gotten caught in this snowball that is rolling downhill. I mean, it's all just coming to us. When we chose this area, we made that exact same decision that so many of you have made. And now it is just, it's out of our control. It really is. And so it's interesting to watch. But that was my Labor Day experience. By the way, we had a great Labor Day, catching up with old friends, talking with some new ones, and just really had a great time just playing in the water, floating around, riding bikes, taking the kids to get ice cream, stuff like that. It really was a lot of fun. And so everybody, I hope you had a great Labor Day as well. Well, hey, this would not be an off-farm income podcast if I did not tell you about the companies that I was so proud to represent on this show. And of course, Lacrosse Footwear. You can find them over at lacrossefootwear.com. Done right since 1897. Lacrosse Footwear has been making quality boots for hunting, working, and tending the land for over a century. So proud to wear my Alpha Range boots every single day, especially because I was wearing them for about a year with no problems at all before Lacrosse ever became a sponsor. That's exactly why we sought out Lacrosse. And hey, I am still on that same pair, and Lacrosse is still a sponsor. Just very excited about that. We know you will be as well. Check them out at lacrossefootwear.com. And then, of course, Powder River Livestock Handling Equipment. Well, I'm proud every day. Every time I work cattle and I'm using Powder River livestock panels and running them through my Powder River squeeze chute, I am thrilled. Known about Powder River my whole life. When we got our own cattle, finally, that's the first thing I did, is bought Powder River equipment, and then they turned into a sponsor as well. And hey, I like that pattern where I go out and I buy the equipment with my own money. I use it. I'm satisfied with it. Very, very happy with the purchase, and then those people become a sponsor. That is the way to do it, in my opinion, and I feel very good about recommending them to you because that's the way I did it. Check out everything they've got to offer for you over at powderriver.com. All right. Well, so today I'm back, and we were irrigating when we left, so we had the water shut off, and I got everything kicked back on today, moved cows today off of that pasture that I'd turned them onto before we left for the trip. And I was getting everything going this morning, and I heard a sound of a distressed chicken. Now, you guys know of all the trouble we've been having with foxes. However, this morning was different trouble. I'm sad to report our dog had got out of the yard and was like laying on top of and chewing on a chicken. He did not kill it. And he's only 6 or 7 months old at this point. He's a puppy. And, man, that is disheartening. I had suspected that he had done this before. I'd found 2 chickens that had not been killed, but that had obviously gone through a trauma. It took them a couple days to recover. And that had been in our backyard, where chickens had gotten to our backyard. And you can watch the behavior of the chickens when he goes into the backyard and see that they all go hide. And then when he comes into the house, they all come out. They go around, they peck, and get insects and things like that. So I really strongly suspected that was going on today. I caught him in the act, and that is depressing. We do have a way to keep him away from the chickens. I've got to fix a gate that he was able to push out through. But with that said, that was depressing. He got scolded really bad. I caught him in the act, which with a dog, especially a puppy, you always want to try and catch them in the act. If you scold them after the fact, they have no idea why they're being scolded. With him, I caught him in the act. I hope it works. I hope I can break him of it and it registers with them. But that instinct can be so strong. I'm worried about it. So we'll see where it goes. He's a nice dog. We don't want it to turn into something worse. So we'll see where it goes. But I've been on that road before when I was a kid growing up in Valley Home, California. And probably the best dog I've ever had. He got that instinct and started chasing our neighbor's sheep. And ended up injuring a couple sheep. He never killed one because we were there both times that it happened. And I was able to interrupt it. But had to get rid of him. He had to go down the road. And that was a sad, sad deal for me back then. I wasn't very old. I think I was 12 or something, 11 or 12. And so, what can happen once they get that taste, once they do it a couple times, and you just can never get it out of their head. So I hope this doesn't happen again. If any of you have been through this, by the way, any of you, because I know I'm not the only one, you've got a dog, he's a pet, you love him, and of course he's a predator, and chicken or prey, and it's a bit of an unfair situation for the dog. I totally understand that. What have you done? What have you done to break your dog of going after your chickens? Or is it just a matter of we've got to make sure a chicken can never get into our yard and make sure our dog can never get out of the yard? But on a lot of your farms, you're going to be big enough that everything's just going to roam. And so the dog's going to be out there, the chickens are going to be out there. So what have you done to break a dog from doing that? I truly want to know, because I want to do it right. I want it to work. And honestly, I know you could probably tell me this. I already know this. I should have started this much earlier. I should have seen it coming when we first got them and started going out and doing some sort of training with them around the chickens right off the bat. And I should have been proactive, not reactive. But hey, I am where I am, and I am being reactive. So in this situation, those of you who were like me and didn't do anything about it until it happened, were you able to do anything that worked? I would love to hear from you. My email address is matt@offincome.com. I would love your tips and your suggestions, and tell me what worked. I would really, really appreciate that, because my wife and my daughter especially love this dog, and we don't want it to go down the road. So please let me know. Well, it is an interesting time for us. Now, you all know, I constantly complain about having to irrigate. I always talk about, man, what if we lived somewhere where Mother Nature would irrigate the farm? And I realize each and every time I do it that I'm looking a gift horse in the mouth. That being able to control how much water we put on, when it gets put on, all of that is a blessing. I understand that. Well, I'm going to say something positive about irrigating right now. And the positive thing I'm going to say is that of all the things we do in farming and in agriculture, they're all marked by, I guess one of the things that's so great about this lifestyle is how the year is marked by different transitions and different changes that indicate the upcoming of something new, another different part of what you do during the year that you really enjoy. And irrigation, if you're involved in irrigating, that can be one of those things. So irrigation, when the water first gets turned into the canal and then into our creek in March, that's always an indicator that, hey, it really is spring. And then, of course, when the water gets turned or made available to us to start irrigating, okay, we're going right into the growing season. And then when it comes time to shut off the irrigation water, when they stop delivering it to us, well, that's an indication that, hey, it really is fall. And so I'm recording this on the 8th of September, so we're about 30 days away from the irrigation company stopping delivery of water and irrigation being over for the year. So I'm irrigating right now, and I really pressed this last month to try and get as much forage growth as I can get going into the fall, and so we can graze as long as possible and start feeding as late as possible on our little farm here. But it's always a mark of the season, and you get into September, the days are shorter, the temperatures are cooler, the lows are lower, and it's an indication that fall is coming. And for us, because we're raising just livestock, again, I've transitioned away from growing my own alfalfa. Now I'm buying my alfalfa, and we're grazing that. So now all we're doing is growing grass and legumes and grazing it. It's a start of the season where I start to wind down a little bit. Now, it's very interesting to think about that because we're just livestock, and the livestock are doing the bulk of the work for us. They're harvesting everything we're growing. And so with irrigation going to be stopping in about a month and us not having to irrigate as much during September because of the cooler temperatures and the shorter days, and so less of evapotranspiration, I start to wind down in September. But I was thinking about that compared to all of you who are row crop farmers, or those of you who are doing both, livestock and row crops. The wind down for you, you're winding up. You've got a harvest going on right now, and you've got more harvest coming up later, most likely. And so you are winding up. You are going into your long, long hours of the year. Next to planting, you're really going for it right now. And so it's an interesting, it's just an interesting difference to me how with raising livestock, I'm winding down, and then pretty soon all I'm going to be doing is feeding a couple times a day, and that'll be it for, 5 months or something like that till I start irrigating in 6 months or whatever that is. So it's an interesting transition. Now, for a lot of you in the row crop business, although so many more of you are doing something 12 months a year now. And when I say something, I don't mean necessarily working in the shop, but at least around here, so many of our farmers, even when we got frozen ground, we got snow on the ground, they're out working the ground, disking or doing something. They can get that done. You see a lot more row crop work going on year round in my area. I don't know if that's true in yours, but certainly is in mine, even when we're froze pretty hard. And so there's more of that going on than it used to be. But traditionally, winter sets in, and row crop farmers, they've got some time off. But us, we're still feeding. Fences still get pushed down. Stuff like that is still going on. Then we got calving, and we've got kidding and all of that. But with that said, it is an interesting transition as we start to wind down. Between everything else I've been doing, irrigating twice a day, every day, it throws an extra wrinkle into it. And the slowdown, you just start to feel it. And you start to go, okay, we're moving into fall. Now this year, so much about this time of year is missing. Yes, there is going to be some football starting, but college football-wise, Boise State's not playing. Montana State's not playing, the two teams that I'm closest to. It's all truncated and weird with no fans in the stands. Baseball's going on, but to be honest with you, I am just not into it this year, and I am a big baseball fan. But with no stands in the fan, why do I keep doing that? No fans in the stand, and all the politics has been interjected into sports this year. I'm just not as into it as normal. And normally this time of year, I love an evening where we've got the front screen door is all that's closed, the back screen door is all that's closed, so we got air flowing through. You can hear outside noises. It's cool in the evening. You can hear crowd noise on the TV because we're either watching football or we're watching baseball on a Sunday evening, getting ready to have dinner. I love that, and we don't have that this year. So it's interesting anyway, but we are starting the transition. It's always an exciting time of year. I hope you're getting excited for fall as well. It's a wonderful time to be involved in agriculture. Very exciting with harvest, very exciting when we take animals in and deliver all, that 18, 20 months of work to our customers late in the fall. Very, very exciting. Hope you're excited for it as well. Well, everybody, I'm sorry today's Tuesday edition came out a few hours late. I hope it was worth it. And hey, as always, enjoy your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business, agriculture.